Welcome to Coop's automatic Coop door installation video. As you can see from that first picture, those are all the parts that come in the box. What you will also need is a screwdriver, either a Phillips or a flathead will work fine, and 4 AA alkaline batteries. There are 2 ways to install this door. First, you can modify a pre-existing door. The door that I just modified was 14 by 18 inches, and with a couple pieces of plywood, we made the door opening 8 by 12.5 inches. The second way is to cut your own hole, as you can see me doing here. It's best to use a level when cutting the hole. A perfectly rectangular hole will make sure the rails are straight, which will in turn make sure the door slides up and down very easily. You can see I did this freehand, and that can lead to problems down the road. Here you can see that the bottom hole on the railing is on the inside, and the top hole is on the outside of the railing. And the screw on the bottom is just below the bottom of the door. At this point, you can install the bottom rail. Next, you'll insert the door from the top of the rails. Make sure it slides up and down with ease. If you're having trouble, like I was here, do some basic adjustments to the tightness of the screws until the railing is very freely sliding up and down. Once I finish this final adjustment on the screw on the bottom left, you'll see how the door should slide up and down with ease. Now we're ready to install the controller box. To remove the controller cover, use a screwdriver. Do not use a power drill or it will strip the plastic. First, we'll need to triple check that the string is to the left of the 2 screws that I'm pointing out here. Next, we'll make a couple measurements. Lift your door up until the bottom of the door is even with the top of the hole you cut. Draw one horizontal line and then draw a vertical line right above the hole in the door. Next, mark and measure 4.5 inches above the railing. This is where the bottom of your door controller will be placed. Once that mark is drawn, we'll then place the controller on your Coop so that the bottom of the door controller is even with your 4.5 inch mark, and so the hole that the string comes out of is even with the vertical line that you drew earlier, as you can see I'm doing here. At this point, you can drill the 4 screws directly into each hole, or if you don't have a bit that's long enough, you can do what I am doing here. I'm using a screwdriver to make little marks in the wood. The only reason you would do this by hand is if you don't have a long enough bit that would fit into these holes to screw in the screws directly. We are now going to tie the string to the door using a basic double knot. You can see there that I just adjusted the motor, turning it away from me to make the string lower. Once you've attached your dyneema string to the top of the door using a double knot, we will then cut off any excess string, and you can see that the door dropped a little bit, so twist the motor towards you and go back up to that black line that we marked earlier. One thing that we found is very helpful is to kind of wake up the controller. So once the door is in the upper position, you'll wind it all the way down and all the way back up manually. Once finished, you'll want to plug in the batteries. So next you'll see a close-up of the chart on the right-hand side. This chart tells you the difference between the 4 different settings. So you have setting 0, 1, 2, and 3. 0 is open with time and close with time. 1 is open with time and close with light. 2 is open with light and close with time. And number 3 is open with light and close with light. So we'll start by using setting 0, which is open and close with the timer. You hold down the left button to get into the menu, and you press the left button to get in between the different functions. And to set the different functions, you press the right button. So you can rewind this part and see how I'm setting the open time and the close time. I'll press OK, which is the left button, and go to the control. So we want the control on option 0, which is open and close with time. Press OK, and then at the end you'll set what the actual time is. So where we are, it was 11:24 a.m. and we set the door to open at 9:40 a.m. and close at 10:15 p.m. So the next version we'll show you is open and close with a light. For this setting, you don't have to set the open and close time. So we'll put that on setting number 3, Press OK, which is the left button. The time doesn't really matter for this, but you can set the time if you'd like. Right here I'm pointing out the light sensor, and you want to cover the light sensor with the cap that came in the bag of screws just to test that it's working. It'll go all the way down to the bottom rail and stop. And once it does stop, wait about 5 seconds and then take the black cap off of the light sensor and it'll go all the way back up. And your Coop door is now set to open and close based off of the light. There's also a way to adjust the light setting, so if it's opening or closing too soon, you can turn the white arrow to the left or right. When you turn the arrow to the left, it opens earlier and closes later, and when you turn the arrow to the right, it opens later and closes earlier in the evening. The best part about this Coop door is that there are many options to choose from. So for example, if you like the time that the Coop door is opening using the light sensor, but you don't like the time that is closing using the light sensor, you can change the setting to setting number 2, and that will open with light and close with timer. And the opposite of that, if you like the time that it's closing with the light but you don't like the time that it's opening, you can set the exact time you'd want it to open and then let it close with the light by using option number 1. So having those 4 options and being able to change them over time, whether it's 2 months from now or a year from now, you can do that depending on what works best for your chickens.